When the final breath of Jesus slipped from his lips, the world held its breath. The ground had already trembled, the sky had gone dark, and the veil of the temple was torn in two. But beyond what human eyes could witness, a cosmic shift was taking place. While his body lay lifeless in the tomb, his spirit was not still. It was moving with divine urgency. Beneath the surface of our reality exists a spiritual realm, ancient, forgotten by many, but never dormant. It is the domain where justice awaits fulfillment, where the weight of sin echoes louder than the cries of men. And into that place, Jesus stepped. But this was no reckless descent. He didn't stumble in, broken and defeated. He entered with authority, not as a victim of death, but as its challenger, not with chains around his wrists, but with keys in his hand. The silence of death was shattered, not by screams, but by the slow, thunderous rhythm of divine footsteps echoing across the floor of the underworld. Hell wasn't ready for this. This part of the story isn't often told from the pulpit, yet it carries a power that changes everything. Jesus didn't wait for resurrection to begin his victory. He stormed the stronghold of sorrow while death still thought it had one. This is the God we serve, one who invades even our lowest places before the dawn breaks. Imagine a place untouched by time. There is no sun to measure the hours, no wind to stir the air, only the heavy stillness of regret and the eerie whisper of forgotten names. This was not a realm created for torment alone. It was a holding place, a waiting room for justice, a prison for souls yearning for the promise that had not yet come. And into that thick, suffocating darkness came light, not flickering, not fading. It was not the light of a candle trying to survive a storm. It was the presence of one who was light. When Jesus stepped into that abyss, the darkness recoiled. Like frost under a rising sun, the shadows twisted and tried to hide. But there was no place left to run. The demons, once bold in their dominion, now whispered in fear. The rulers of this place had never faced someone like him. He did not speak with threats, he spoke with truth. And the truth was more terrifying than any sword. This scene speaks to us, because we all know darkness. We know what it's like to be trapped in guilt, or haunted by past mistakes. But Jesus didn't just shine at the darkness, he walked into it. For you, for me. He didn't call from the mountaintop, he descended into the pit, and lit a fire no shadow could survive. In the heart of this forgotten realm sat souls, not demons, not monsters, but men and women, weary, waiting, wondering if the promises they'd heard were just ancient rumors. The prophets, the faithful, the broken, all gathered in silent anticipation. Some had waited for centuries. Abraham, who had once looked toward a city with foundations. David, who sang of a shepherd even in the valley of death. Isaiah, who had spoken of a suffering servant. Their words were true, but had not yet found their fulfillment. And then came a presence, not noise, not lightning, just the pure, overwhelming sense that everything was about to change. And when they lifted their eyes and saw the light of Christ flooding the cavern, it wasn't fear they felt, it was relief, awe, and then joy. Jesus didn't speak with thunder, he simply opened his arms, and in that moment, all the centuries of waiting collapsed into one truth. He came. Have you ever waited for something so long that you started to doubt it would ever come? That's what hope feels like in this world sometimes. But when Jesus enters, even the longest silence becomes a song. Not everyone in that realm rejoiced. There were gatekeepers, forces that had ruled over death's domain since the fall of man. ancient, malevolent, territorial. They stood before the gates that sealed this place, snarling with hatred and fear. But Jesus didn't flinch. He walked up to the threshold, radiating power not just from divinity, but from love. Love for every soul held captive. Love for every broken heart that had ever whispered a prayer into the void. He raised his voice, and with a single word, not screamed, but spoken, the gates groaned. Cracks formed across their surfaces, like spiderwebs. And then, with a sound like thunder splitting the sky, they fell. The demons, they fled. His isn't myth. It's not fantasy. It's truth dressed in glory. What you're hearing is the untold chapter of victory. The one that reminds us no barrier, no stronghold, no power of darkness can stand against the love of Christ when he comes to reclaim his own. Imagine this. The souls that once cowered in corners now began to stand, slowly at first, trembling, then with growing strength. Their chains didn't just fall off, they evaporated in the presence of Jesus. He didn't rush them. He didn't demand perfection. He simply looked at them with eyes that had already forgiven, and then he led them out. It was not a retreat, it was a victory march, a parade of the redeemed. From Abraham to the thief on the cross beside him, every soul followed the light. The corridors of death became pathways of praise. Hell had never seen such a thing. It had taken lives for centuries, convinced it would never lose them. But on that day, it bled captives. Jesus didn't steal souls, he rescued them, and the gates of hell could not prevail. You might feel forgotten, like your life is buried too deep for anyone to find. But if Jesus could walk through hell for them, he'll walk into your story too. As Jesus led the captives forth, the shadows struck again. One final wave, desperate, furious, as if hell realized it was losing its grip. The darkness coiled like vipers, but they couldn't touch him. The closer they came, the weaker they became. His presence was a shield, a fire, a wall of holiness they could not penetrate. This is spiritual warfare at its rawest. Not angels fighting with swords, but light defeating lies, truth swallowing despair. Jesus wasn't shouting commands. He simply was the command, living, walking, conquering. No matter how hard the past clings to you, no matter how dark the night feels, his presence is greater, his victory is complete. Every corner of that realm bore curses, words spoken in malice, sins etched into its walls. But Jesus didn't just free souls, he broke systems. He shattered the architecture of fear. Where guilt had been carved into the ground, grace now overflowed. Where shame had built walls, mercy tore them down. He didn't leave the place how he found it. He redeemed even the space itself. And that's exactly what he wants to do in your life. Not just rescue you from pain, but redeem what pain has ruined. He turns tombs into testimonies, darkness into dawn. The journey back was not a retreat. It was a procession of power. ... As Jesus emerged from that shadowed place, the earth stirred. The stone that sealed his tomb was already trembling. The soldiers outside didn't know what was coming. The world thought the story was over. But on that third day, everything changed. Jesus didn't crawl out of death. He walked out with fire in his eyes and eternity in his hands. His resurrection wasn't the beginning of victory. It was the public announcement of one that had already taken place in hell itself. This story isn't just a holy mystery. It's a call to you. Whatever pit you're in, whatever shadow you've been stuck under, Jesus has already gone deeper, and he's coming for you. You are not forgotten. You are not too far gone. He already paid the price. He already shattered the gate. So stand. Follow the light. He doesn't just rescue. He leads. He restores. He resurrects. Let this truth ignite your heart today. The tomb is empty, but so is hell's grip on you.